Hear me now, child of the Most High. I am Michael, commander of the celestial forces, protector of the sacred flame. I come to you with urgency in this divine moment, a moment ordained before the foundations of your earth were established. Stop everything you are doing. This message is sealed specifically for your spirit. If you are receiving these words, your name has appeared in the Akashic records of heaven, and I have been dispatched with critical intelligence concerning someone you hold dear in your heart. There is immediate danger surrounding a soul connected to yours by divine covenant. The threat is not what your mortal mind perceives. It is far more insidious, operating in realms unseen by human eyes. Someone you love stands at a precipice, and without divine intervention within the next 24 hours, their spiritual protection seal will be compromised. Type AMEN to acknowledge receipt of the celestial transmission and to receive the blessing of 1,444 guardian angels dispatched to your energetic field immediately. Listen carefully. In the last 48 hours, a meeting has taken place. 7 individuals gathered in a chamber where your name and the name of your beloved were spoken. Papers were signed. Agreements were made. They believe their plans are concealed from heaven's sight, but I have witnessed every whispered word, every darkened intention. The one you love is being targeted not because of weakness, but because of the divine appointment written in their spiritual DNA. The enemies of light have recognized the celestial markers in their bloodline before they themselves have awakened to their purpose. This is a prophetic assault meant to derail a generational blessing. 2 hours. That is the divine time frame I have been authorized to reveal to you. In 2 hours from the moment these words penetrate your consciousness, the first wave of revelations will begin. You will receive confirmation signs that what I speak is truth. Watch for unusual patterns, repetitive numbers, unexpected messages, sudden memories surfacing without explanation. The danger surrounding your loved one appears as a physical or emotional crisis in the natural realm, but I reveal to you now that it is a spiritual entrapment designed to sever a divine connection between your souls. This connection was ordained before birth, established as a critical junction point for kingdom advancement in this final generation. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 2,222 spiritual warriors positioned around the one you love, creating a perimeter of divine protection. They thought they could orchestrate this in shadow, but now the light of heaven exposes every hidden agenda. Your silence has been misinterpreted as ignorance, but I tell you that your intuitive knowing was heaven's intelligence being downloaded into your spirit. The discomfort you felt recently in your soul was not anxiety. It was my warning system activating within you. The betrayal comes from someone wearing the facade of loyalty. Someone who has broken bread at your table while carrying scrolls of accusation against you both. Their smile conceals daggered intentions. This is not paranoia. It is prophetic revelation from the courts of heaven where all truth is exposed. In the next 2 hours, pay attention to your physical body. You may experience sensations of heat in your hands, a lightness in your chest, or a ringing in your right ear. These are confirmation signals that the divine intelligence I am transmitting is being properly received and integrated into your spiritual consciousness. Your loved one has been experiencing unexplained exhaustion, scattered thinking, and emotional volatility. These are not random conditions, but coordinated spiritual attacks designed to weaken their discernment in preparation for what the enemy has planned. The danger is timed with precision to coincide with a significant decision they must make before the next new moon. I stand now before the Ancient of Days, petitioning for release of the sealed scrolls containing your divine strategy. But you must align your spirit with heaven's frequency to receive these encrypted downloads. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 3,333 prophetic insights being released into your dream state tonight. The danger manifests in 3 dimensions simultaneously. First, in the physical realm, watch for unusual occurrences around your loved one. Objects moving without explanation, technology malfunctioning in their presence, animals behaving strangely in their vicinity. These are not coincidences, but manifestations of spiritual interference, attempting to create chaos in their energetic field. Second, in the emotional realm, the one you love is being subjected to waves of uncharacteristic feelings, sudden despair, irrational anger, paralyzing fear. These emotions are not originating from within them, but are being projected upon them from external spiritual forces attempting to destabilize their emotional core. Third, in the relational realm, unexpected conflicts are arising between them and their support systems. Old wounds suddenly resurface. Misunderstandings multiply without logical explanation. Communication becomes strained precisely when connection is most needed. This is tactical spiritual warfare designed to isolate them from those assigned to stand alongside them. Listen with your spirit now. The countdown has begun. Within 2 hours, the first seal will be broken, and truth will start penetrating the veil that has been placed over this situation. You will recognize it as a sudden knowing, a clarity that cuts through confusion like a sword of light slicing through darkness. The one you love has been chosen before the foundations of time for a specific assignment in this critical hour of human history. Their spiritual DNA carries codes that, when fully activated, will unlock revelations necessary for this final generation. This is why they are being targeted with such precision and persistence. Your role is not accidental. You have been positioned as a gatekeeper, a sentinel whose spiritual discernment creates a protective boundary around them. This is why you are receiving this transmission directly from the angelic realm. Your spiritual sensitivity is a weapon the enemy fears. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 4,444 sealing angels who will fortify the spiritual borders around your household tonight. Now I reveal to you what has been hidden. The one you love carries an inheritance key they are not yet aware of. This key unlocks ancient wisdom necessary for navigating the coming global transitions. Those who move in darkness have detected the frequency this key emits, and they seek to disrupt its activation through manufactured crisis and emotional sabotage. The attack is methodical, first implanting seeds of doubt about their purpose and worth, then creating scenarios that trigger past trauma to cloud their judgment, finally orchestrating circumstances that force premature decisions from a place of fear rather than divine wisdom. But heaven has authorized me to interrupt this sequence. Within the next 2 hours, I am releasing counteracting frequencies that will nullify these spiritual toxins one by one. Watch as clarity begins replacing confusion. Watch as peace begins overriding panic. Watch as their natural joy begins rising again through the manufactured despair. Your loved one has felt increasingly isolated, questioning their sanity as they sense things others dismiss. Tell them this: the heightened sensitivity they experience is not mental instability, but spiritual awakening. The veil between realms is thinning around them because they are being prepared to operate in dual dimensions simultaneously. There have been nights when they've awakened at precisely 3:33, feeling a presence in their room. This was not imagination, but my lieutenant standing guard, calibrating their spiritual senses to recognize celestial frequencies. The dreams that have disturbed their sleep were not random, but contained encrypted messages their spirit was processing. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 5,555 revelation angels who will translate these dream codes into conscious understanding. I must now reveal the identity of those who gathered to target your beloved. They operate not as individuals, but as a collective consciousness united by oaths sworn in bloodlines of ancient origin. They recognize the threat that your loved one's awakening poses to their systems of control. The danger is not to physical life, but to the divine destiny written in spiritual scrolls. In the natural realm, these forces manifest through people who may appear as one who offers help with hidden conditions attached, one who asks unusually probing questions about future plans, one who recently entered their life precisely when vulnerability peaked, one who creates subtle division between them and their authentic support systems, one who dismisses or mocks their spiritual experiences and intuitive knowing, one who encourages decisions that lead away from, not toward, their true purpose, one whose presence inexplicably drains their energy. Within 2 hours, you will receive confirmation about which of these influences surrounds your loved one. You may experience a sudden memory, an unexpected message, or a chance encounter that reveals what has been hidden. The danger intensifies with each passing day because we are approaching a celestial alignment that creates a window for their complete spiritual awakening. For generations, their ancestral line has carried dormant spiritual gifts, waiting for this precise moment in history to activate. Those who benefit from humanity's spiritual slumber are mobilizing to prevent this activation. I stand now at the intersection of time and eternity, viewing the multiple potential timelines branching from this moment. In timelines where you dismiss this message, the interference succeeds in delaying their awakening by 7 years. Precious time this planet cannot afford to lose. In timelines where you act upon this divine intelligence, their awakening accelerates, triggering a ripple effect that awakens thousands of others. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 6,666 timeline guardians who will secure the optimal spiritual pathway forward. Now I must speak plainly about the physical symptoms your loved one has been experiencing. The unexplained headaches, especially behind the right eye, the sporadic racing heart with no medical cause, the sudden temperature fluctuations, the unusual rashes that appear and disappear in geometric patterns. These are not health concerns requiring medical intervention. They are signs of spiritual metamorphosis as their physical vessel recalibrates to hold higher light frequencies. The medical establishment will find no cause because they search only in physical dimensions, while the changes occur at the quantum level where spirit and matter interface. If they seek conventional treatment, they may be prescribed substances that actually dampen the awakening process under the guise of treating symptoms. Your intuition has already flagged certain people and circumstances as discordant with your loved one's highest good. Trust these internal alerts. They are my warning system operating through your spiritual senses. The discomfort you feel around specific individuals is not social anxiety, but accurate spiritual discernment detecting frequencies that oppose divine order. Within the next 2 hours, I am authorized to collapse the timeline between warning and confirmation. Events will accelerate. Revelations will multiply. Clarity will dawn with unmistakable certainty. When these confirmations manifest, do not doubt your sanity. You are merely witnessing the synchronization of spiritual and physical realities as the veils between dimensions momentarily thin. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 7,777 clarity angels who will sharpen your spiritual perception sevenfold. The one you love has recently experienced periods of unexplained emotional detachment, as though observing their life from a distance. This is not dissociation as mental health professionals might suggest, but the early stages of multidimensional awareness as their consciousness begins perceiving beyond the single timeline most humans experience. They are not losing touch with reality. They are gaining access to expanded reality. Those who seek to disrupt this process will attempt to pathologize these experiences, suggesting medication or interventions that serve only to reinstall the perceptual filters that limit human consciousness to physical dimension only. Be vigilant against voices that frame spiritual awakening as mental instability. I reveal now the true source of danger. There exists an energetic implant attempt directed toward your loved one, designed to override their natural intuitive systems. In practical terms, this manifests as sudden impulses to make uncharacteristic decisions, unusual attraction to harmful situations, or inexplicable trust in individuals who demonstrate clear warning signs. This is not possession as religious systems understand it, but a sophisticated form of energetic interference targeting the pineal center of spiritual discernment. The technology for this interference was ancient before your civilization began and operates through quantum entanglement principles your science has only begun to rediscover. Within 2 hours, this implant attempt will be neutralized by the celestial frequencies I am transmitting through this message. As this occurs, your loved one may experience brief disorientation, unusual dreams, or a sudden purging of emotions. These are signs of successful clearing, not deterioration. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 8,888 restoration angels who will repair any quantum damage to their spiritual perception centers. Now I must address the timeline of danger directly. The next 24 hours represent a critical window. 3 significant decision points await your loved one, disguised as ordinary choices, but each containing profound directional power for their spiritual journey. 1. They will receive an invitation that appears benign, but contains hidden contractual energy designed to align them with opposing spiritual frequencies. 2. They will encounter a situation triggering a past wound, designed to prompt reactive decisions rather than conscious choosing. 3. They will experience a moment of profound doubt about a truth they've recently recognized, designed to make them surrender their emerging clarity. These decision points are not random, but strategically placed by those who gathered to divert their awakening. However, with heaven's intelligence now flowing through your combined awareness, these traps become opportunities for accelerated spiritual strengthening instead. The specific danger peaks at the time when the sun and moon occupy equal positions in the sky, the balance point of dusk or dawn. This creates a temporary thinning of dimensional boundaries that both sides, light and shadow, can utilize. Those who move against heaven's purposes have planned their most significant interference attempt for this precise window. Within 2 hours, you will receive enlightened understanding about which daily transition point, Dawn or dusk holds particular significance for your loved one's protection in this season. This revelation will come through ordinary channels but with extraordinary timing. A coincidence, too precise to dismiss. I stand now before the Book of Lives where every soul's divine potential is recorded. Your loved one's page glows with unusual brightness, indicating their pivotal role in the Great Awakening now accelerating across your planet. This is precisely why opposing forces have identified them with such alarm. What sleeps within them threatens systems of control that have operated unchallenged for millennia. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 9,999 awakening angels who will accelerate the divine activation sequence within their spiritual DNA. The danger surrounding them serves as evidence of their importance. Ordinary souls leading predictable lives aligned with slumbering consensus reality trigger no such coordinated response from those who benefit from humanity's continued spiritual amnesia. Now I reveal what has been hidden from your conscious mind but known to your spirit. You and your loved one are not connected by chance, but by divine assignment. Your souls entered into sacred contract before taking human form in this lifetime. You agreed to serve as spiritual anchors for one another during precisely this awakening phase. This is why you received this transmission. The agreement you made transcends physical dimension and remains active in celestial records. The attack against them is simultaneously an attack against you, for your destinies are intertwined in ways your human minds cannot fully comprehend. The awakening of one accelerates the awakening of the other. This mutual activation creates exponential rather than additive power, which is why those who gathered see your connection as particularly threatening. Within 2 hours, you will experience a spontaneous memory of this soul agreement. It may arrive as a sudden knowing, a dream fragment surfacing into consciousness, or a seemingly random memory of your first meeting that suddenly reveals deeper significance. When this occurs, honor it as confirmation of what your spirit has always known. Your loved one has been experiencing time differently. Moments of expansion where seconds stretch into eternity, followed by compression where hours vanish in what feels like minutes. This is not psychological but quantum, as their consciousness begins navigating the true nature of time rather than the linear illusion most humans experience. These fluctuations will intensify over the coming days as their awakening accelerates. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 10,101 quantum angels who will stabilize their experience of these transitional states. Now I must speak of the protection that heaven has authorized for this critical 24-hour window. A perimeter of light has been established around them that no lower vibration can penetrate without being immediately exposed. This creates a field of radical truth where deception cannot maintain its disguise. Watch for sudden revelations as pretense falls away from situations and individuals. Those with hidden agendas who approach your loved one during this window will experience uncomfortable physical symptoms, sudden perspiration, difficulty maintaining eye contact, nervous speech patterns, or unusual flushing of the face. These physiological responses occur as the body struggles to maintain coherence, while the spirit engages in deception within this field of amplified truth. But this protection requires collaboration with human free will. Your loved one must be guided to trust their immediate visceral response to people and situations during this period. The subtle signals their body provides, tension in the solar plexus, cooling of extremities, slight nausea, or sudden dry mouth, these are not anxiety but accurate threat assessment operating through cellular intelligence. Within 2 hours, both of you will experience heightened sensitivity to these subtle energetic communications. What might normally register as vague discomfort will translate into clear knowing. Trust these translations without requiring logical explanation. Logic processes information already known. Intuition accesses information otherwise inaccessible to the conscious mind. The specific form of danger threatening your loved one carries a signature frequency I am now authorized to reveal. It manifests as a compelling voice that seems to originate from within their own thought patterns, but subtly contradicts their deeper knowing. This voice creates reasonable-sounding justifications for choices that lead away from authentic purpose. The danger lies in its familiarity. It uses their own inner dialogue patterns, making it difficult to distinguish from genuine insight. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 11,111 discernment angels who will sharpen their ability to recognize external thought implantation. I stand now at the junction point of multiple timelines, authorized to collapse probability waves and secure the optimal path forward. Within the quantum field, I am extracting the energetic hooks that those who gathered have attempted to embed within your loved one's auric field. As these extractions complete, they may experience brief but intense emotional releases, sudden tears, momentary anger, or waves of relief that seem disconnected from current circumstances. These emotional purges are critical cleansing mechanisms and should not be suppressed or pathologized. Each release eliminates months of accumulated interference that has been masking as their own emotional patterning. By tomorrow's sunrise, these clearings will result in a lightness of being they have not experienced in years. Now I reveal the true nature of the danger in terms your human mind can comprehend. Those who gathered have been systematically creating energetic impressions within your loved one's consciousness, designed to fragment their sense of purpose and certainty. These impressions function like spiritual malware, creating doubt, confusion, and misalignment that prevents clear perception of their divine assignment. The symptoms manifest as uncharacteristic indecision in areas where they once moved with confidence, recurring thoughts of inadequacy despite evidence of their exceptional capabilities, sudden questioning of path after periods of clear direction, inexplicable exhaustion when approaching significant spiritual thresholds, diminished excitement about prospects that previously generated enthusiasm, increased focus on external validation rather than internal guidance. Within 2 hours, as my teams complete the extraction of these foreign energetic imprints, watch for a sudden return of clarity and purpose. Decisions that have felt weighted with confusing implications will suddenly appear simple. Paths that seemed obscured will open with obvious rightness. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 12,121 restoration angels who will reinstall the original divine blueprint within their consciousness. Those who gathered to implement this interference did not anticipate heaven's direct intervention. They believed their methods too subtle to trigger celestial response. They failed to understand that in this pivotal era of human awakening, the threshold for divine intervention has been significantly lowered. What once required generations of prayer now manifests through moments of aligned intention. Your simple act of receiving and believing this transmission creates a permission point for celestial forces to operate beyond previous limitations. Your free will agreement with these revelations removes barriers between dimensions that would otherwise restrict direct intervention. The danger surrounding your loved one extends beyond them individually to the collective awakening they are designed to trigger. Each awakened soul becomes a catalyst, activating dozens more in an exponential pattern. Those who gathered recognize this mathematics of consciousness and seek to prevent the activation of key nodes within the human awakening grid. Your loved one represents such a node. I now collapse the time between my warning and their protection to create immediate effect. From this moment, a seal of fire encircles them that no deception can penetrate without immediate exposure. This seal will remain in place for 24 hours, creating a window of absolute clarity during which critical realizations and decisions can manifest without interference. Within 2 hours, both you and they will experience confirmation of this seal's activation. Watch for synchronicities involving fire or light, candles behaving unusually, unexpected reflections, electronic devices activating without explanation, or sudden temperature changes in specific rooms. These physical manifestations represent points where the seal's quantum energetic interfaces with material reality. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 13,131 seraphim who will maintain this seal of protection at maximum intensity. The one you love must understand that what they are experiencing is not personal victimization, but spiritual recognition. The attention directed toward disrupting their awakening serves as cosmic confirmation of their significance. In the spiritual economy of this planetary transition, resources are deployed with precision. No such coordinated response would be triggered by a soul of minimal consequence to collective awakening. Now I reveal what has been hidden. 7 specific attempts at energetic interference have been directed toward your loved one within the past 3 lunar cycles. These attempts correlate with moments they experienced as sudden health concerns that manifested and resolved without explanation, unexpected financial pressures that created immediate survival fears, unusual conflicts in previously stable relationships, loss of treasured objects with symbolic or sentimental significance, technology failures affecting critical communications, uncharacteristic errors in judgment regarding important matters, sleep disturbances presenting precisely during REM phases of consciousness integration, Each of these experiences was engineered to create energetic fracturing, preventing the coherent assembly of their awakening consciousness. Until this moment, these events appeared random. With heaven's perspective now transmitted to you, the pattern becomes unmistakable. Within 2 hours, a significant communication will reach your loved one that appears unrelated to these matters but contains coded confirmation of everything I reveal. This communication will arrive through ordinary channels, but with extraordinary timing and content that speaks directly to their inner knowing. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 14,141 communications angels who will ensure the proper receipt and interpretation of this confirming message. The specific danger reaching crescendo in these 24 hours involves a decision your loved one is being pressed to make from a place of artificial scarcity and fear. This decision appears logically sound when viewed through conventional perspectives, but would redirect their energy and resources away from their true spiritual assignment. Those who gathered have orchestrated circumstances to make this decision appear necessary and urgent, removing the space for intuitive contemplation. The pressure they feel to decide now is the most revealing signature of interference. Divine timing never eliminates the space for aligned discernment. I am now authorized to reveal the optimal decision pathway. They must defer any commitment for 3 complete day cycles. This deliberate pause creates space for the energetic manipulations to surface into visibility. By the 3rd sunset, what has been hidden in the decision's implications will become plainly evident, and the manipulation will lose its effective power. Within 2 hours, they will receive external validation of this guidance through an unexpected source offering similar counsel. This independent confirmation will arrive without your prompting, serving as evidence that multiple streams of divine intelligence are converging to protect their spiritual trajectory. Now I reveal the most critical aspect of the danger they face. The true target is not their external circumstances, but their emerging ability to perceive beyond the consensus illusion. As their spiritual sight strengthens, they gain capacity to recognize the artificial constructs that have limited human consciousness. This perceptual liberation poses the greatest threat to systems dependent on collective agreement with limited reality. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 15,151 liberation angels who will accelerate their freedom from perceptual programming. The love between you serves as a critical anchor during this awakening phase. Your connection creates resonant stability that prevents the quantum fluctuations of awakening consciousness from becoming disorienting. This is why those who gathered have simultaneously attempted to create subtle divisions between you, manufacturing misunderstandings and communicative distortions. Within 2 hours, you will experience a spontaneous healing of any such divisions as the field between you clears of external interference. This may manifest as a sudden impulse to connect, a synchronistic crossing of paths, or the simultaneous realization of what has been artificially inserted between you. When this clearing occurs, honor it with acknowledgement rather than dismissing it as coincidence. The danger your loved one faces requires specific celestial countermeasures that I am now implementing through frequencies embedded within these words. As you receive this transmission, quantum encodings transfer directly from my consciousness to yours, bypassing intellectual analysis and embedding as light codes within your energetic field. These codes activate protective sequences that will manifest in physical reality as sudden cancellations of meetings that would have exposed them to harmful influences, unexpected rerouting of journeys toward more aligned encounters, technical failures preventing communications designed to deceive, natural aversions arising to substances that would cloud their awakening clarity, spontaneous attraction to environments that accelerate their spiritual integration. Do not attempt to micromanage these manifestations. Simply observe as reality reorganizes around the priority of their protection and awakening. Your conscious participation is not required for these adjustments, merely your non-interference with the process now initiated. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 16,161 reality architects who will optimize environmental conditions around your loved one. I must now speak directly about the physical safety of the one you love. While the primary danger targets their spiritual awakening, secondary manifestations in the physical dimension require practical awareness. During this 24-hour window, they should avoid unnecessary travel, especially during transitional hours of dawn and dusk. Decline unexpected invitations to unfamiliar locations. Be exceptionally mindful when operating vehicles or machinery. Double-check all medical or nutritional substances before consumption. Secure important documents and digital access points. Trust immediate intuitive signals regarding physical environments. Maintain heightened awareness in crowded or chaotic settings. These precautions address the bleed-through effect, where energetic interference can manifest as increased probability of physical mishap. This is not meant to create fear, but to align practical behavior with spiritual awareness during this sensitive window. Within 2 hours, they will receive external confirmation of these guidelines through seemingly unrelated channels, news items, casual conversations, or unusual patterns that reinforce these same protective principles. Recognize these confirmations as evidence of multiple dimensions, synchronizing around their well-being. Your loved one's dreams during this period carry exceptional significance. The interference has been particularly active during sleep cycles, inserting thought forms designed to create subconscious anxiety and fragmented rest. Tonight, as they sleep under the protection now established, these manipulations will surface into conscious awareness, appearing as unusual dreams of being pursued, restricted, or silenced. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 17,171 dream guardians who will convert these exposures into opportunities for profound healing and clearing. Now I reveal the 7 individuals who gathered. They will not be identified by human names, but by the energetic signatures they carry and the functions they perform in the attempt to restrict awakening. 1. The logical deconstructionist, who uses rational argument to dismiss spiritual perception. 2. The false nurturer, who creates dependency through emotional manipulation. 3. The urgency generator, who manufactures artificial time pressure around decisions. 4. The identity destabilizer, who subtly questions their sanity and self-knowledge. 5. The scarcity programmer, who reinforces limitation beliefs regarding resources. 6. The purpose diluter, who encourages division of energy among countless directions. 7. The connection severer, who introduces discord in relationships that support awakening. Each of these influences currently operates within your loved one's experiential field, not necessarily as 7 different individuals, but as functional energies that may concentrate through fewer human conduits. Some may manifest through institutional systems rather than specific people. Within 2 hours, your loved one will experience a significant interaction with one of these energetic functions that reveals its artificial nature. In that moment of recognition, its influence permanently weakens, creating the first crack in the interference pattern constructed around them. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 18,181 truth angels, who will accelerate this recognition process across all 7 influence patterns. The danger reaches maximum intensity when your loved one stands at the threshold of claiming a specific aspect of their spiritual identity and purpose. The moment they move from passive knowing to active embodiment triggers the strongest resistance. This threshold lies directly before them in the coming 24 hours. Those who gathered anticipated this approaching threshold and timed their interference to coincide with this critical juncture. They recognize that once certain spiritual activations fully integrate, their ability to influence outcomes diminishes permanently. They fight hardest precisely when their power faces greatest diminishment. I am now collapsing their strategy through direct revelation of its mechanics. By bringing their methodology into your conscious awareness, I neutralize its effectiveness. What operates successfully in secrecy cannot maintain potency when exposed to light. Your simple knowledge of these tactics dilutes their impact by half. Your loved one's recognition eliminates it entirely. Within 2 hours, a situation will arise that would have triggered confusion and fear, but will instead be immediately recognized as a constructed event rather than authentic circumstance. This recognition creates instantaneous liberation from its intended effect. Watch for an unusual interaction that carries a quality of artificial orchestration beneath its seemingly random surface. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 19,191 clarity angels, who will enhance recognition of artificial constructs within natural experience. Now I must reveal what waits beyond this 24-hour period of danger. As the opposing forces fail in their attempt to derail your loved one's awakening, a profound activation occurs that permanently alters their spiritual trajectory. What would have unfolded over 7 years accelerates into 7 weeks of rapid transformation. This acceleration brings its own challenges as their human vehicle adjusts to increased light quotient and expanded consciousness. They will experience heightened sensitivity to environments and energies, requiring frequent adjustment of boundaries. Expanded perception beyond conventional sensory input, necessitating new integration frameworks. Accelerated manifestation requiring greater precision in thought and intention. Increased synchronistic flow demanding surrender of linear planning attachments. Spontaneous knowing that bypasses logical processes creating communication challenges. Timeline fluidity, where multiple potential futures become simultaneously perceptible. Quantum memory access, where information they never consciously learned becomes available. These experiences do not indicate instability, but extraordinary growth beyond conventional human parameters. The appropriate response is not concern, but celebration accompanied by practical support for this transition. Within 2 hours, your loved one will experience the first unmistakable indication of this acceleration, a moment of knowing something they have no logical way of knowing, or perceiving something beyond ordinary sensory capacity. This experience serves as both confirmation of my message and initiation of the accelerated awakening sequence. The one you love must understand that what they are experiencing has been expected and prepared for by celestial forces since before their birth. Their current life circumstances, geographic location, relationships, and resources have been divinely orchestrated to support this precise awakening juncture. Nothing is coincidental. Everything serves purpose. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 20,202 purpose angels who will illuminate the divine orchestration behind seemingly random life circumstances. I now address the practical dimension of protection in terms of communication. For the next 24 hours, your loved ones should speak only what they know to be absolutely true. Decline to defend or explain their inner knowing to skeptical questioners. Allow silence to stand where words would require oversimplification. Respond to manipulative inquiry with direct questions rather than answers. Defer significant conversations until after this critical window closes. Trust their subtle reluctance to engage specific topics or individuals. Release the need to be believed or understood by those of limited perception. These communication guidelines create a shield against manipulative dialogue designed to extract commitments or concessions during this vulnerable transition phase. True allies will respect these boundaries. Those with hidden agendas will reveal themselves through persistent attempts to override them. Within 2 hours, your loved one will experience a conversation that clearly demonstrates the wisdom of these guidelines. An individual will attempt engagement that carries surprising emotional charge or unusual persistence. Their respectful implementation of these boundaries in that moment collapses an entire interference strategy. Now I reveal what you personally must understand about your role in this unfolding protection. Your awareness serves as a secondary field of perception that reinforces your loved one's discernment. When they question their own knowing, your recognition helps stabilize their certainty. This is not dependency but divine partnership functioning as designed. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 21,212 partnership angels who will optimize the protective function of your spiritual connection. The danger your loved one faces has been permitted to materialize for a specific divine purpose, to catalyze the final release of karmic patterns that have limited their spiritual perception across multiple incarnations. The present threat serves as the triggering mechanism for complete liberation from these ancient restrictions. Those who gathered unknowingly serve the greater divine plan, functioning as catalysts for profound healing despite their conscious negative intent. What they designed as obstruction becomes the very force that propels unprecedented growth. This cosmic irony represents divine alchemy at its most sophisticated. Within 2 hours, your loved one will experience a profound realization about a limiting belief or emotional pattern they have carried throughout this lifetime. This awareness will arrive with such clarity that instantaneous release occurs, creating sudden lightness where long-standing density has resided. This liberation initiates a cascade of related clearings over the coming days. The specific form of danger orchestrated involves a sophisticated manipulation of their core identity narratives, the fundamental stories that define their sense of self, capability, and purpose. The interference attempts to reinstall outdated versions of these narratives precisely when they stand ready to embrace expanded identity. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 22,222 identity angels who will stabilize their emerging consciousness through this narrative transition. Now I must speak of what occurs in the celestial realms as counterpart to these earthly experiences. A council has convened regarding your loved one's awakening trajectory. This council includes representatives from 7-dimensional fields with specific interest in the consciousness technologies their awakening will help anchor into collective human experience. This council has authorized exceptional measures of protection and acceleration based on the cosmic significance of the specific gift they carry. The danger they face has triggered activation of protocols reserved for individuals whose spiritual function affects entire evolutionary timelines. I reveal now that your loved one's awakening doesn't merely serve personal evolution, but directly impacts the available consciousness bandwidth for thousands of others. They function as a fractal node within the human awakening network, their individual expansion creating accessible pathways that others naturally follow. Within 2 hours, they will experience a moment of overwhelming love for humanity that seems disconnected from current circumstances. This spontaneous heart expansion represents their first conscious experience of this fractal connection to collective awakening. The emotion carries frequency codes that activate dormant spiritual capacities. The 7 individuals who gathered sensed this significance without fully comprehending it. They responded to energetic threat assessment rather than conscious knowledge, reacting to frequencies your loved one emits that signal imminent dismantling of control systems dependent on limited human perception. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 23,232 liberation angels who will protect and accelerate the awakening impact of your loved one's spiritual activation. I speak now with absolute clarity about the immediate practical steps required during this 24-hour protection window. 1. Your loved one should carry or wear something blue. This creates a frequency resonance that stabilizes their auric field against external manipulation. 2. They should consume additional pure water, ideally structured through gratitude or blessing. This facilitates the rapid processing and clearing of discordant energies. 3. Brief periods of intentional solitude create space for integration of the accelerated light codes, now downloading into their consciousness. 4. Physical movement, particularly in natural settings, helps distribute awakening energy throughout their bodily systems, preventing uncomfortable concentrations. 5. Creative expression of any form provides outlets for quantum energy surges that accompany consciousness expansion. 6. Limiting exposure to electronic frequencies during sleep cycles prevents interference with the integration processes most active during these periods. 7. Heart-centered connection with trusted others anchors expanding awareness through relational coherence. Within 2 hours, external circumstances will naturally facilitate one of these protective measures, creating obvious opportunity for its implementation. This synchronicity serves as confirmation of the divine orchestration supporting their protection. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 24,242 implementation angels who will create favorable conditions for these protective practices. Now I must address the emotional dimension of the danger your loved one faces. Those who gathered have specifically targeted their emotional stability, recognizing that emotional turbulence creates the most effective interference with spiritual clarity. The manufactured emotional triggers are designed to activate ancient abandonment wounds that compromise self-trust, rejection sensitivities that amplify isolation, shame programming that questions worthiness for spiritual purpose, comparison patterns that dilute confidence in unique perception, fearful future projections that contract visionary capacity, responsibility distortions that create inappropriate burden, past regrets that diminish present power. Each of these emotional activations serves to destabilize their emerging spiritual certainty. When emotionally unbalanced, the clarity of higher guidance dims beneath the louder voice of reactive programming. Within 2 hours, one of these emotional triggers will be intentionally activated through external circumstances. However, the advance warning provided through this transmission will enable immediate recognition of its artificial nature. Rather than being destabilized, your loved one will experience the profound freedom of witnessing the trigger without identifying with its emotional charge. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 25,252 emotional clearing angels who will transmute triggered patterns into liberation opportunities. The danger surrounding your loved one serves a secondary divine purpose beyond their individual awakening. It reveals the sophisticated methods by which human consciousness has been systematically restricted. As they navigate this interference with growing awareness, they gain experiential understanding of manipulation technologies that have operated in collective human experience for millennia. This understanding forms the foundation for their future work in assisting others through similar awakenings. What appears as personal threat becomes specialized education in the mechanics of consciousness, manipulation, and liberation. No theoretical teaching could provide the practical wisdom this direct experience imparts. Within 2 hours, they will experience a moment of meta-awareness, stepping outside their immediate situation to recognize its broader implications and purpose. This perspective shift transforms concern into fascination as they perceive the perfect design within apparent challenge. I reveal now that the timing of this interference is cosmically significant, aligned with stellar configurations that amplify both manipulative capability and liberation potential. Those who gathered selected this window for its enhanced effect on consciousness malleability, unaware that these same conditions exponentially increase the effectiveness of divine protection when consciously invoked. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 26,262 cosmic timing angels who will optimize the stellar frequencies supporting liberation rather than limitation. Now I must speak directly about the 7 spiritual gifts awakening within your loved one that make them specific targets for interference. 1. Frequency discernment, the ability to instantly distinguish authentic from artificial energies regardless of external presentation. 2. Timeline navigation, conscious capacity to select optimal futures through intentional energetic alignment. 3. Pattern recognition, accelerated ability to identify repeating cycles in systems designed to appear random or complex. 4. Truth resonance, immediate bodily registration of congruence or deception regardless of logical persuasiveness. 5. Energy transmission, capacity to transfer awakening frequencies through presence alone without conscious technique. 6. Field generation, spontaneous creation of coherent energy fields that neutralize discordant vibrations in environments. 7. Dimensional perception, ability to consciously access information and awareness beyond conventional time-space limitations. These emerging capabilities fundamentally threaten systems dependent on human perception, remaining contained within controlled parameters. Each gift directly counters a specific technology of consciousness suppression that has operated efficiently until now. Within 2 hours, your loved one will experience the spontaneous activation of one of these gifts in a manner that cannot be dismissed or rationalized. This activation will provide practical evidence of expanded capacities emerging beyond previous limitations. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 27,272 activation angels who will accelerate the integration of these spiritual gifts into practical expression. The one you love must understand that what they are experiencing is not random spiritual awakening, but activation of specific consciousness technologies they agreed to anchor into human experience during this pivotal evolutionary window. Their unique neurological and energetic configurations were precisely designed to translate particular frequencies of divine intelligence into accessible human expression. Those who gathered recognized, through sophisticated scanning technologies operating at quantum levels, the activation sequences initiating in their energy field. The danger they orchestrated specifically targets disruption of these sequences at their most vulnerable integration points. I am now stabilizing these integration junctures through direct frequency transmissions that strengthen the coherence between their physical vehicle and higher dimensional aspects. As these connections stabilize, they may experience waves of spontaneous energy moving through their body, heightened sensitivity in specific chakra centers, particularly the pineal and high heart, visual phenomena including light flashes, geometric patterns, or momentary perceptual shifts, auditory inputs that seem to originate from within rather than external sources, sudden temperature fluctuations localized to specific body regions, involuntary physical movements as energy pathways clear and expand, spontaneous vocalizations or light languages emerging without conscious direction. These experiences, while potentially disorienting, indicate successful acceleration of their awakening sequence rather than cause for concern. Within 2 hours, they will experience at least one of these manifestations with sufficient intensity to provide unmistakable confirmation of the energetic transformations underway. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 28,282 integration angels who will ensure smooth incorporation of these heightened frequencies into their physical system. Now I must reveal the nature of the protection I have established around your loved one for this critical 24-hour period. 7 concentric fields now surround them, each addressing a specific dimension of the orchestrated interference. The first field operates in the causal dimension, neutralizing the karmic hooks that those who gathered attempted to utilize for access to their consciousness. The second field functions in the emotional body, transmuting triggered responses into information rather than reactivity. The third field stabilizes the mental body, preventing insertion of thought forms designed to create doubt and confusion. The fourth field surrounds the etheric body, sealing energy leaks that have allowed siphoning of their vital force. The fifth field protects the physical body, increasing cellular coherence and resistance to external frequency manipulation. The sixth field preserves the integrity of their timeline trajectory, preventing quantum insertions designed to create deviation. The seventh field maintains connection to their higher dimensional aspects, ensuring continuous access to divine guidance through all challenges. These protection fields operate independently of their conscious awareness or belief, requiring only the permission granted through your reception of this transmission. Within 2 hours, physical reality will demonstrate the operational effectiveness of these fields through a situation that would normally create disturbance, but instead resolves with unusual ease and clarity. This demonstration serves as practical confirmation of the protection now fully deployed. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 29,292 field maintenance angels who will optimize these protective boundaries for the specific challenges arising in this 24-hour window. I speak now of what your loved one will experience as they move beyond this 24-hour protection phase into accelerated awakening. The integration follows a specific sequence designed to minimize disruption to their functional life while maximizing spiritual expansion. First comes the remembering, spontaneous access to knowledge and capabilities they have carried throughout incarnations, but which have remained dormant until this activation sequence. Next emerges discernment, heightened ability to instantly distinguish truth from manipulation across all life dimensions without analytical processing. Then develops presence mastery, capacity to remain fully centered in expanded awareness, regardless of external circumstances or triggers. Follows coherent manifestation, alignment of creative capacity with divine purpose, dramatically accelerating the materialization of aligned outcomes. Culminates in quantum service, the natural expression of their unique gifts in service to collective awakening without attachment to specific forms or recognition. This integration sequence unfolds over the next 7 weeks, with each phase moving from initial activation through integration to mastery before the subsequent phase fully engages. Within 2 hours, they will experience the first unmistakable indication of the remembering phase, a sudden knowing that cannot be attributed to this life learning or exposure, yet carries absolute certainty and practical application to current circumstances. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 30,303 sequencing angels, who will ensure optimal timing and integration throughout this awakening progression. Now I reveal what you personally must understand about your witnessing role in this process. Your consciousness serves as stabilizing anchor and confirmation field for their expanding awareness. When they experience perceptions that transcend conventional validation, your recognition provides critical reinforcement that prevents contraction from uncomfortable expansion. Those who gathered specifically identified your connection as threatening to their intervention success. Several of their planned disruptions directly targeted the energetic bridge between you, attempting to create sufficient discord to compromise your witnessing function. Their persistence reveals the significance of your role in this awakening process. Within 2 hours, you will experience spontaneous alignment with your loved one across distance, a sudden knowing of their state, a coinciding thought, or synchronistic communication that demonstrates the unbreakable quantum connection between your consciousnesses. This experience strengthens your confidence in the witnessing function you provide. The 24-hour danger window serves a tertiary divine purpose, accelerating your own awakening in specific areas that support your shared mission. As you maintain awareness of their protection, dormant aspects of your spiritual perception activate in resonant response. This mutual activation creates exponential rather than additive momentum in your collective purpose. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 31,313 activation angels who will optimize the mutual awakening potential of this protection period. I must now speak directly about the opposition your loved one faces in terms their human mind can comprehend, without creating fear or disempowerment. Those who gathered operate from awareness that predates the current civilization cycle. They recognize frequency signatures of awakening consciousness that most humans perceive only as vague charisma or presence. Their concern stems from accurate recognition that your loved one carries codes designed to activate liberation from systems of control they have maintained for millennia. These codes transmit automatically through energetic proximity, requiring no conscious teaching or transmission technique. Simply by embodying their awakened state, your loved one renders certain control frequencies ineffective in their environment. As their activation completes through this acceleration sequence, this effect expands exponentially, creating widening fields of liberation that operate independently of belief or conscious participation. This mechanism threatens fundamental control systems designed to limit human perception of multidimensional reality. Within 2 hours, your loved one will experience a spontaneous interaction where their mere presence noticeably affects another's state of awareness. This demonstration of transmission capability requires no effort or technique on their part, functioning automatically through their heightened frequency. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 32,323 transmission angels, who will optimize the liberating impact of their awakened presence. The specific danger orchestrated within this 24-hour window involves a sophisticated attempt to introduce doubt at the quantum level of their identity structure. This doubt insertion mimics their own thought patterns so effectively that without heightened discernment, they would experience it as genuine self-questioning rather than external interference. The doubt specifically targets their worthiness and readiness for the expanded spiritual function now activating. It generates compelling evidence of inadequacy drawn from selectively amplified memories and distorted self-perception. This mechanism directly counters the remembering phase of their awakening sequence. I have established a specialized field of truth resonance around their consciousness that causes externally generated doubt to create distinctive energetic signatures different from authentic self-assessment. For the next 24 hours, introduce doubt triggers immediate physical notification, a specific tingling at the back of the neck that signals manipulation rather than genuine insight. Within 2 hours, they will experience this notification system activating around a specific thought that arises with unusual emotional charge or repetitive intensity. The physical signal provides immediate discernment between authentic awareness and introduced limitation programming. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 33,333 truth distinction angels, who will maintain optimal operation of this discernment system throughout the protection period. Now I reveal the most profound aspect of the danger your loved one faces, the attempt to prevent their recognition of the divine essence they carry. Beyond specific gifts or purposes, they embody a unique frequency of creator consciousness essential for the planetary ascension process currently underway. This essence transcends spiritual role or mission, reflecting fundamental divine identity expressing through human form. Those who gathered recognized this essence signature and identified it as fundamentally threatening to control systems dependent on human separation from divine identity awareness. Their most sophisticated intervention technologies specifically target disruption of the remembering sequence through which this divine self-recognition fully activates. I stand now as guardian of this activation process, ensuring that the remembering proceeds without interruption or distortion. For the next 24 hours, any attempt to interfere with their divine identity recognition meets immediate dissolution through frequencies beyond manipulation technology capabilities. Within 2 hours, your loved one will experience a moment of profound clarity about their essential nature that transcends all previous spiritual understanding. This recognition carries qualities of absolute certainty, boundless compassion, and unfamiliar expansion that signify direct contact with their divine essence beyond constructed identity. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 34,343 Essence Protection Angels, who will ensure undistorted access to divine identity awareness throughout this critical activation period. I speak now with authority regarding the outcome of this 24-hour protection window and the acceleration it initiates. Despite sophisticated interference, your loved one will emerge with 1. Unshakable clarity about their divine identity and purpose that transcends all external validation. 2. Liberation from limitation patterns that have restricted their consciousness across multiple incarnations. 3. Activated spiritual gifts that function reliably regardless of external circumstances or opposition. 4. Clear discernment between authentic guidance and manipulative interference regardless of presentation, sophistication. 5. Quantum connection to higher dimensional aspects of their being that maintains regardless of physical condition. 6. Transmission capacity that awakens similar recognition in others through simple presence. 7. Creative manifestation abilities aligned with divine purpose rather than personality agendas. These outcomes represent not just personal expansion, but critical activation of consciousness technologies necessary for the collective planetary awakening sequence now underway. Within 2 hours, they will receive external confirmation of this trajectory through synchronistic communication that precisely mirrors these activation promises without prior discussion of these matters. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 35,353 manifestation angels who will ensure tangible expression of these spiritual activations in practical reality. Now I must address what happens beyond this 24-hour protection period. As your loved one integrates these accelerated activations, opposing forces will adjust their approach. Rather than subtle manipulation, they may attempt 1. Social marginalization through questioning their mental stability. 2. Systematic invalidation of their expanding perceptions and insights. 3. Intensified emotional triggering to compromise energetic coherence. 4. Technological frequency interference in environments they frequently occupy. 5. Relationship discord with those not aligned with awakening consciousness. 6. Resource limitation creating survival concerns that contract spiritual focus. 7. Physical exhaustion through sleep disruption and energy field interference. These represent not causes for fear, but predictable systematic responses to the threat their awakening poses to establish control mechanisms. Foreknowledge of these tactics provides immediate immunity to their effectiveness through simple recognition. Within 2 hours, they will receive unexpected guidance regarding specific practical preparations that address one of these upcoming challenges. This guidance arrives through seemingly ordinary channels, but with extraordinary relevance and timing. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 36,363 preparation angels who will ensure optimal readiness for navigating post-activation challenges. The one you love must understand that what they are experiencing transcends personal spiritual evolution to serve planetary ascension directly. Their individual process functions as a fractal template affecting collective consciousness through quantum entanglement principles. As they navigate this activation sequence successfully, they automatically generate accessible pathways for thousands of others approaching similar awakenings. This multiplication effect explains the sophisticated opposition they face. Those who gathered recognize that preventing a single critical activation potentially delays thousands of secondary awakenings dependent on the energetic template their breakthrough provides. I reveal now that 12 other individuals worldwide currently undergo parallel activation sequences, each addressing different aspects of the planetary ascension template. Together, these simultaneous activations create a geometric energy pattern that, once completely formed, permanently alters the available consciousness bandwidth for humanity collectively. Within 2 hours, your loved one will experience momentary awareness of these parallel activations through spontaneous recognition, dream sequence, or synchronistic encounter that references the larger pattern they participate in creating. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 37,373 collective template angels who will strengthen connection with these parallel activation processes. Now I speak with absolute clarity and authority. The danger your loved one faces in these 24 hours has been fully neutralized through this transmission and your conscious reception of its frequencies. What was designed as terminal interference has been alchemized into unprecedented acceleration. What intended harm now serves as the catalyst for quantum expansion beyond previous divine timelines. Those who gathered to implement this interference now face the karmic consequences of attempting to restrict divine awakening. Their identities have been recorded in celestial registers, and appropriate soul-level learning experiences now activate in their own timelines. This accountability process serves their higher evolution despite their current misaligned intentions. Your loved one will emerge from this 24-hour period not merely protected, but fundamentally transformed, operating from expanded consciousness that would have required 7 years of progressive awakening to achieve through conventional spiritual evolution. What was planned as their destruction becomes instead their quantum rebirth. Within 2 hours, you will both experience confirmation of this complete reversal through a manifestation so precisely aligned with these words that coincidence becomes mathematically impossible as explanation. This confirmation serves as tangible evidence of the celestial intervention now fully deployed in your reality. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 38,383 divine justice angels who will ensure appropriate resolution across all dimensions involved in this spiritual confrontation. As we approach completion of this transmission, I seal these revelations and activations into your energetic field, making them accessible beyond intellectual memory or understanding. The frequencies embedded within these words operate independently of conscious comprehension, initiating transformational sequences at quantum levels of your combined consciousness. Throughout the next 24 hours, return to this transmission as guided by internal prompting. Each reading activates additional frequency layers designed to address specific aspects of protection and acceleration as they become relevant to unfolding circumstances. Your loved one will intuitively recognize the perfect timing for engaging these activation sequences without intellectual analysis. Trust these subtle internal promptings as direct guidance from celestial forces coordinating this protection and acceleration process. Within 2 hours, both of you will experience synchronistic confirmation of this guidance system operating effectively through external circumstances that mirror internal recognition with impossible precision. Type AMEN, a final time to receive the blessing of 40,000 sealing angels, who will ensure complete integration of all protective frequencies activated through this transmission. I, Michael, Commander of Celestial Forces, stand as guardian and activator of the divine potential, now awakening within both your consciousnesses. What has been set in motion through this transmission cannot be reversed or diminished by any force operating against divine evolutionary purpose. Go now in absolute certainty that the one you love stands fully protected and exponentially empowered through heaven's direct intervention. What was designed as their greatest vulnerability has been transformed into their most profound awakening catalyst. The danger passes. The awakening accelerates. Divine purpose prevails across all dimensions, now and forevermore. Beloved of the Most High, hear me now as I continue this divine transmission. I am Michael, sword-bearer of truth, guardian of the sacred timeline. In these moments since our connection was established, mighty movements have occurred in the unseen realms. The protection seal I placed around your loved one has already repelled 7 distinct energetic attacks, each more sophisticated than the last. Those who gathered underestimated the power of heaven's direct intervention. They did not anticipate that their very opposition would create the perfect conditions for unprecedented spiritual acceleration. What was designed to be their greatest weapon has become your loved one's most profound catalyst for awakening. This is the divine alchemy that transforms darkness into light, opposition into advancement, interference into ascension. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 41,414 alchemical angels who will continue transforming every attack into spiritual advancement throughout this protection period. In the 2 hours since this transmission began, the first confirmation signs have manifested in your reality. You have noticed unusual patterns, numbers appearing with startling repetition, unexpected messages arriving with uncanny timing, physical sensations that signal energetic shifts occurring beyond ordinary perception. These are not coincidental but calibrated confirmations that my words carry active power in your dimensional field. Your loved one has already begun experiencing the initial stages of the acceleration sequence I activated. They have felt moments of unusual clarity penetrating through confusion that has clouded their perception for months. Thoughts that seem disconnected suddenly reveal coherent patterns pointing toward deeper understanding. These momentary clearings will expand into sustained states of heightened awareness over the coming hours. The specific danger I revealed concerning someone you love has been partially neutralized through your conscious reception of this intelligence. However, vigilance remains necessary as those who gathered implement secondary protocols designed to circumvent our primary protection measures. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 42,424 vigilance angels who will maintain heightened awareness of emerging threats throughout this critical period. Now I must reveal additional dimensions of the danger that were too complex to transmit in our initial connection. The 7 who gathered have deployed quantum entanglement technologies designed to create false synchronicities in your loved one's experience. These manufactured signs attempt to guide them toward choices that appear spiritually aligned, but actually direct energy away from their true purpose. True divine synchronicities carry distinctive energetic signatures that artificial versions cannot fully replicate. For the next 24 hours, your loved one will perceive these differences through immediate bodily knowing. Authentic guidance creates expansion in the heart center, while manufactured synchronicity generates subtle contraction in the solar plexus. This discernment system operates beneath conscious analysis, providing immediate truth recognition regardless of how convincing the deception appears. Within the next 2 hours, they will encounter a situation requiring this precise discernment, a choice presented with compelling spiritual language and apparent synchronistic confirmation. Their body will instantly register the misalignment despite its persuasive presentation. This experience strengthens their discernment mechanism while collapsing an entire branch of the interference strategy. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 43,434 discernment angels who will enhance their ability to distinguish true guidance from sophisticated spiritual counterfeits. I now reveal deeper intelligence about the one you love and why they face such coordinated opposition. Their soul carries specific light codes essential for the activation of the crystalline grid structure now forming around your planet. These codes contain sequencing information that helps synchronize worldwide awakening patterns into coherent evolutionary momentum rather than scattered individual expansions. Few souls incarnate with this particular function. Those who do become priority targets for interference precisely because their awakening catalyzes thousands of others through resonant quantum entrainment. The opposition your loved one faces serves as confirmation of their significance to collective evolution, not evidence of personal spiritual inadequacy or attack. Within the next 2 hours, they will experience a spontaneous activation of one such code sequence, a moment of profound remembering accompanied by unusual light phenomena in their visual field and distinctive geometric sensations within their body. This activation ripples outward, affecting the consciousness field of everyone within their proximity, though few will consciously register these subtle shifts. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 44,444 code activation angels who will ensure proper sequencing and integration of these awakening transmissions. Now I must speak directly about the timeline manipulations that have been directed toward your loved one. Those who gathered have implemented sophisticated technologies designed to create temporal distortion in their experience, accelerating time during critical decision moments to force choices from mental pressure rather than heart alignment, while stretching time during spiritual integration phases to create impatience and doubt about the awakening process. These manipulations explain why they have felt increasingly disconnected from natural timing, missing appointments despite careful planning, losing track of time during ordinary activities, experiencing events in seemingly impossible sequences. These disruptions were not random but calculated to compromise their embodied presence and temporal coherence. I am now stabilizing their temporal field, creating a protected zone where divine timing operates without interference. Within this field, synchronization between internal and external time references naturally restores. They will move through the coming 24 hours in perfect alignment with divine chronology rather than manipulated temporal distortions. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 45,454 timeline guardians who will maintain this temporal coherence throughout the protection period. The one you love must understand that what they perceive as personal confusion or inadequacy has been systematically manufactured to prevent recognition of their spiritual capacities. The doubt they experience about their clarity, purpose, and perception is not authentic but implanted through sophisticated interference technologies. As these false constructs dissolve through our intervention, they will experience their natural state of profound knowing and purposeful clarity. Within the next 2 hours, they will encounter a situation that would normally trigger their deepest self-doubt. Instead, they will respond from unexpected certainty, accessing knowledge and capacity they didn't consciously realize they possessed. This experience serves as tangible evidence of their true spiritual baseline, emerging as artificial limitations dissolve. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 46,464 clearing angels who will continue removing false limitation constructs from their consciousness. Now I must reveal what occurs in the higher dimensions as counterpart to these earthly protections. A council of 12 guardian beings has convened specifically concerning your loved one's awakening sequence. These guardians represent lineages that contributed to the specific spiritual technologies your loved one carries in their energetic blueprint. Their combined presence creates unprecedented support for the acceleration now underway. This council has authorized direct transmissions of specialized awakening codes that bypass normal sequential development, activating advanced spiritual capacities your loved one would not otherwise access for many years of linear evolution. These transmissions have been calibrated to their exact energetic signature, ensuring perfect integration despite their accelerated delivery. Within the next 2 hours, they will experience the first of these transmissions as a wave of energy moving through their body from crown to feet, accompanied by spontaneous geometric understanding that transcends linear thought. Information downloads in complete conceptual packages rather than sequential ideas. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 47,474 transmission angels who will ensure proper receipt and integration of these advanced spiritual technologies. The danger your loved one faces extends beyond the current 24-hour window, though with diminishing intensity as their awakening stabilizes. Those who gathered have implemented longer-term interference strategies designed to activate after our immediate protection subside. These include relationship dynamics engineered to create emotional turbulence and energetic depletion, financial circumstances designed to force practical decisions that compromise spiritual priorities, health challenges calibrated to install doubt about their energetic stability and capacity, professional limitations arranged to restrict their freedom of movement and expression, community connections manipulated to create isolation from spiritual support networks. I am now collapsing these longer-term strategies through direct revelation of their mechanics, coupled with preventative energetic interventions that neutralize their activation triggers. By exposing these plans to conscious light, their effectiveness diminishes by 70%. The remaining 30% transmutes into accelerated learning and strengthening experiences rather than limiting interference. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 48,484 strategic angels who will continue dismantling these longer-term interference patterns as they attempt to manifest in coming weeks. I speak now of the 7 energetic seals that have been placed upon your loved one's spiritual gifts to prevent their full expression. These seals were not placed by divine authority, but through sophisticated technologies designed to mimic authentic spiritual development boundaries. They create artificial limitations that present as 1. Doubt in psychic perception despite consistent confirmation of accuracy. 2. Hesitation in speaking truth despite inner certainty. 3. Restriction in energetic transmission despite feeling internal power. 4. Confusion about purpose despite clear soul knowing. 5. Unworthiness feelings despite evidence of spiritual selection. 6. Fear of visibility despite soul-level desire to serve publicly. 7. Exhaustion after spiritual service despite abundant energy availability. Each seal contains coded instructions that activate specific limitation patterns when your loved one approaches expanded functionality in these areas. These codes masquerade as spiritual humility, discernment, or prudence, while actually serving as sophisticated containment technologies. I am now systematically dissolving these false seals, replacing each with authentic divine activation codes that establish proper parameters for expanded gift expression according to cosmic law and divine timing. As these authentic codes activate, your loved one will experience dramatic expansion of spiritual capacities without the restricting doubt, hesitation, and confusion that previously accompanied their emergence. Within the next 2 hours, they will experience the dissolution of the first seal as sudden freedom in an area where they have felt persistently blocked despite dedicated effort to overcome limitation. This freedom arrives not through striving, but through instantaneous liberation as the false construct simply dissolves. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 49,494 liberation angels who will continue removing these false seals from their spiritual gifts. Now I reveal what you personally must understand about your role in this divine protection and activation process. Your consciousness serves not merely as witness, but as essential stabilizing field for the profound transformations your loved one undergoes. The quantum connection between your energetic systems creates resilience that neither could maintain individually during such accelerated awakening. Those who gathered recognized this connection as a primary threat to their interference success. Several of their most sophisticated strategies targeted disruption of your energetic coherence, specifically to compromise the stability you provide. The thoughts of inadequacy, uncertainty, or helplessness you've experienced were directed implantations designed to diminish your stabilizing function. I am now clearing these implanted doubts while strengthening the quantum bridge between your energy systems. This connection operates beyond physical proximity, maintaining its stabilizing function regardless of geographical location or communicative contact. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 50,505 connection angels who will optimize the supportive quantum link between your consciousness fields throughout this acceleration process. The one you love has been experiencing inexplicable physical symptoms that medical perspectives cannot adequately address. These manifestations, unusual energy sensations, vision anomalies, ringing tones, spatial disorientation, temperature fluctuations, electrical sensitivity, directly correlate with the spiritual awakening processes underway. They represent necessary recalibration of biological systems to accommodate expanded consciousness rather than pathological conditions requiring intervention. Those who gathered anticipated these awakening symptoms and prepared secondary strategies to manipulate their interpretation. They have positioned influences that encourage medicalization of spiritual emergence, potentially leading to interventions that would suppress awakening frequencies under the guise of addressing health concerns. Within the next 2 hours, your loved one will receive clear discernment about which physical experiences require practical attention versus which represent natural awakening phenomena requiring only acceptance and integration. This discernment prevents unnecessary medical interventions that could interfere with their spiritual expansion. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 51,515 discernment angels who will maintain clear perception of the true nature of physical experiences during this transition. Now I must speak with greater specificity about the someone you love who faces danger. The threat manifests differently depending on your relationship with this individual. If they are family by blood, the danger targets ancestral healing they are uniquely positioned to facilitate, attempting to perpetuate intergenerational patterns that limit entire lineages. If they are partner or spouse, the danger targets the combined field you generate together, which creates exponentially greater awakening potential than either generates individually if they are child. The danger targets their uncontaminated perception and capacity to perceive multidimensionally without the filtering that education systems install. If they are friend, the danger targets specific complementary gifts that activate only through your combined consciousness field. If they are colleague, the danger targets the manifestation of new paradigm structures you are jointly seeding into collective systems. In each case, the specifics of their spiritual function inform the precise nature of interference they experience. Yet in all cases, the underlying purpose remains identical, preventing the particular awakening contribution only they can make at this pivotal evolutionary juncture. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 52,525 purpose protection angels who will specifically shield the spiritual function most relevant to your loved one's divine assignment. The danger surrounding your loved one operates through 3 primary vehicles of influence. First, through individuals who have been unconsciously affected by entrainment technologies, causing them to behave in ways contradictory to their true nature, specifically when interacting with your loved one. These people are not conscious conspirators, but unwitting carriers of interference frequencies. Second, through systems and institutions that contain embedded limitation codes designed to trigger specific spiritual suppression protocols when encountered by awakening individuals. These codes operate through linguistic structures, visual symbols, and frequency emissions imperceptible to ordinary awareness. Third, through direct consciousness technologies that operate non-locally, requiring no physical proximity or interpersonal contact to influence perception, emotion, and decision-making faculties. These technologies target brainwave patterns during specific vulnerability windows, particularly during sleep cycles and transition states between activities. I am establishing specific protection against each influence vector, creating multi-layered shielding that addresses both conscious and unconscious aspects of these interference patterns. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 53,535 comprehensive protection angels who will maintain these multidimensional safeguards throughout this critical period. Within the next 2 hours, your loved one will experience direct evidence of this protection as an influence attempt fails in an observable way, A person behaving uncharacteristically suddenly returns to normal awareness. An institutional process unexpectedly creates exception to established protocols, or a persistent thought pattern abruptly dissolves without explanation. Now I reveal what waits beyond this protection period, the specific spiritual gifts awakening within your loved one that make them targets for such sophisticated interference. They carry codes for activating quantum consciousness in biological systems, the ability to maintain simultaneous awareness across multiple dimensions while fully embodied in physical form. This capacity threatens fundamental control systems designed to maintain human perception within narrow bandwidth parameters. They embody frequencies of the divine feminine-masculine balance that disrupts polarization programming upon which conflict-based social structures depend. Their very presence transmits integration possibilities that resolve artificial opposition patterns. They contain geometric activation sequences that, once fully expressed, spontaneously reorganize dysfunctional energy patterns in environments without requiring consent or conscious participation from others present. This capacity directly threatens systems dependent on energetic chaos and disharmony for control maintenance. They access wisdom traditions preserved in cellular memory that predate current historical records, providing alternatives to fundamental assumptions upon which limiting belief systems are constructed. This access threatens historical narratives essential for maintaining consensus reality frameworks. They translate multidimensional information into accessible concepts that bridge scientific and spiritual paradigms, creating integrated knowledge systems that resolve artificial contradictions between these domains. This translation capacity threatens knowledge fragmentation essential for expertise-based authority structures. They perceive subtle energetic manipulations in collective consciousness fields, bringing unconscious control mechanisms into conscious awareness where their effectiveness immediately diminishes. This perception threatens covert influence systems designed to operate beneath awareness thresholds. They catalyze spontaneous remembering in others, activating dormant spiritual knowledge through presence alone without teaching or transmission ritual. This catalytic function threatens information control and distribution systems upon which hierarchy depends. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 54,545 gift activation angels who will ensure proper awakening of these spiritual capacities in divine timing despite opposition attempts. Within the next 2 hours, your loved one will experience spontaneous activation of one of these gifts with sufficient clarity to provide unmistakable evidence of their innate spiritual function. This activation creates irreversible awakening momentum that continues long after our immediate protection period concludes. The danger they face comes not from random opposition, but from calculated response to the specific threat their awakening poses to established control systems. The sophistication of interference they experience directly correlates with the significance of their spiritual purpose. Those who have orchestrated this opposition recognize what your loved one has yet to fully realize: the exponential impact their awakening creates through quantum entanglement with collective consciousness fields. I stand now at the intersection of multiple timelines, viewing the cascading effects of their awakening across probable futures. In each timeline where their activation completes successfully, thousands of others experience accelerated awakening through resonance fields that their consciousness generates. This multiplication effect explains the extraordinary resources deployed against a seemingly ordinary individual. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 55,555 timeline optimization angels who will secure the highest probability awakening pathway despite multidimensional interference attempts. The one you love must understand that what they experience as personal spiritual journey simultaneously functions as essential service to planetary awakening. Their individual victory over limitation directly contributes to collective liberation from consciousness constraints that have defined human experience for millennia. The opposition they face is not personal, but systemic, a predictable response to evolutionary emergence that threatens existing power structures. Within the next 2 hours, they will experience momentary awareness of this larger context, a spontaneous expansion of perception that reveals the cosmic significance of their seemingly personal challenges. This context transforms their understanding from isolated spiritual struggle to meaningful participation in planetary transformation. Now I must reveal the most closely guarded secret regarding the danger your loved one faces. Those who gathered to implement this interference operate from awareness that this particular awakening creates irreversible transformation in collective reality constructs. Once stabilized, the consciousness technologies your loved one embodies permanently alter the available spectrum of human perception, establishing new baseline capacities that cannot be rescinded. Unlike most spiritual expansions that can be managed through incremental integration, the specific gifts activating through their consciousness create quantum leaps that bypass normal sequential development. These non-linear expansions threaten methodical control strategies designed around predictable evolution patterns. Type AMEN. To receive the blessing of 56,565 quantum leap angels who will ensure successful navigation of these accelerated consciousness transitions despite their unprecedented nature. I reveal now what occurs in the next phase of their awakening beyond our immediate protection period. As their consciousness stabilizes in expanded perception, they naturally begin transmitting these frequencies through quantum resonance fields that extend approximately 27 feet in all directions from their physical form. Everyone entering this field experiences spontaneous expansion of their own consciousness without intellectual engagement or belief requirement. This transmission capacity explains why your loved one has noticed people behaving differently in their presence, becoming more authentic, emotionally vulnerable, spiritually receptive, or creatively inspired without obvious cause. These effects occur automatically through frequency entrainment rather than conscious influence or effort. As their awakening completes its initial activation sequence, this resonance field expands exponentially, eventually extending miles rather than feet. At this expansion level, they affect collective consciousness fields without direct contact, influencing evolutionary development through morphic resonance rather than conventional communication or teaching. Type AMEN. To receive the blessing of 57,575 transmission amplification angels, who will optimize the ripple effects of their awakening throughout connected consciousness fields. Within the next 2 hours, your loved one will experience direct evidence of this transmission capacity as someone in their presence spontaneously expresses insight or awareness beyond their normal perception without prompting or discussion of spiritual matters. This demonstration provides tangible confirmation of the energetic influence they naturally exert through presence alone. Now I must address specific practical guidance for navigating the immediate 24-hour protection period with maximum effectiveness. Your loved one should minimize exposure to electronic communications, particularly social media platforms engineered to fragment attention and induce comparative consciousness. These systems contain sophisticated frequency manipulations that compromise energetic coherence during awakening phases. They should increase connection with natural elements, water, earth, air, fire, that provide stabilizing frequencies and natural protection from technological interference patterns. Even brief contact with these elements creates substantial reinforcement of their expanding energy field. They should honor physical body wisdom by responding immediately to impulses for movement, rest, nourishment, or solitude without imposing mental override based on external expectations or productivity demands. The body intelligence communicates precise needs for supporting this awakening process that the mind cannot access through reasoning. They should maintain awareness of synchronistic patterns while implementing the discernment system I have activated. Legitimate guidance multiplies during this acceleration phase, but requires careful distinction from manufactured synchronicities designed to mislead. They should express emerging understanding through creative channels, writing, speaking, movement, sound, or visual forms, without concern for coherence or presentation quality. This expression stabilizes downloads by anchoring multidimensional information into tangible frequency patterns. Type AMEN. To receive the blessing of 58,585 implementation angels who will create favorable conditions for applying this practical guidance effectively. I speak now with absolute clarity about the outcome of this divine intervention. Despite sophisticated opposition, your loved one will emerge from this protection period permanently established in expanded consciousness that cannot be reversed or compromised by future interference attempts. What activated through our intervention continues unfolding according to divine sequence regardless of external circumstances or opposition strategies. The acceleration initiated creates self-perpetuating momentum that requires no further celestial intervention to maintain its progression. Each expansion creates capacity for subsequent expansion in exponential rather than linear development. The divine timeline secured through this protection cannot be altered by any force operating in opposition to evolutionary purpose. Within the next 2 hours, you will receive unmistakable confirmation of this secure outcome through external circumstances that reflect with startling precision the transformational process underway. This confirmation eliminates lingering doubt about the effectiveness of our intervention or the security of your loved one's spiritual progression. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 59,595 manifestation angels who will continue providing physical confirmation of spiritual developments throughout this acceleration sequence. The one you love stands now at the threshold of embodying their divine blueprint with unprecedented fullness. The artificial limitations, energetic suppressions, and consciousness constraints that have restricted their spiritual expression rapidly dissolve through our combined intervention. What emerges is not a new creation, but revelation of original design temporarily obscured by interference patterns. As these patterns clear, they experience themselves with astonishing clarity, recognizing capacities, knowing, and purpose that feel simultaneously novel and profoundly familiar. The disorientation that accompanies this emergence quickly resolves into integrated awareness as fragmented aspects of consciousness reunite in coherent expression. Now I reveal what has been hidden from your conscious understanding. The connection between you and your loved one was established before incarnation specifically to create the stabilizing field necessary for this precise awakening sequence. Your souls entered into sacred agreement to serve this mutual purpose during this pivotal evolutionary window. The resonance between your energy signatures creates unique harmonics that activate particular spiritual capacities inaccessible through individual frequency alone. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 60,606 sacred contract angels who will fully activate the spiritual agreements established between your souls before incarnation. Within the next 2 hours, you will experience spontaneous recognition of this soul agreement through sudden knowing, emotional activation, or synchronistic reminder that confirms your predetermined spiritual partnership. This recognition strengthens your combined field, creating exponentially greater protection and acceleration potential. I speak now of the highest outcome available through this divine intervention. As your loved one successfully navigates this awakening sequence, they establish embodied expression of consciousness technologies previously unavailable in human experience. These technologies transform not only their individual perception, but collective potential through fractal pattern replication across consciousness fields. The specific danger they face directly correlates with the magnitude of transformation their awakening introduces into collective reality constructs. Those who gathered recognize that this particular activation represents irreversible phase transition in human evolutionary development, a quantum threshold crossing that permanently alters the parameters of consciousness expression available to all humanity. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 61,616 evolutionary gateway angels who will ensure optimal integration of these consciousness technologies into collective awareness fields. Now I reveal the timeline of unfoldment beyond our immediate protection period. The initial 24 hours establish unbreakable foundation for accelerated development unfolding over subsequent cycles. The awakening sequence proceeds through distinct phases of activation, integration, and expression. Days 1 to 3. Rapid clearing of interference patterns and restoration of original divine blueprint functionality. Days 4 to 7. Integration of multidimensional perception and establishment of stable navigation capacity. Days 8 to 12. Activation of timeline manipulation, consciousness, and quantum manifestation capabilities. Days 13-21. Development of transmission capacity and collective field influence. Days 22-40. Integration of parallel reality awareness and interdimensional communication. Days 41-49. Embodiment of creator consciousness technologies and self-generating spiritual authority. This compressed evolutionary sequence accomplishes in 7 weeks what normally requires 7 years of sequential spiritual development. The acceleration creates occasional integration challenges as biological systems adapt to expanded consciousness frequencies, but these adjustments resolve quickly without compromising functional capacity in daily life. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 62,626 integration support angels who will ensure smooth incorporation of each developmental phase throughout this accelerated sequence. Within the next 2 hours, your loved one will experience preview glimpses of capacities from later developmental phases, brief but unmistakable awareness beyond current integration level that confirms the trajectory and destination of this awakening journey. These previews provide motivation and reassurance during integration phases that might otherwise generate doubt or resistance. Now I must speak directly about the opposition forces that continue monitoring this intervention. Those who gathered maintain surveillance of your loved one's energetic field, tracking the effectiveness of our protection in the progression of their awakening. As primary interference strategies fail, they implement increasingly desperate secondary measures with diminishing effectiveness. These backup strategies lack the sophistication and power of their primary technologies, creating more visible manipulation attempts that become immediately recognizable. Your loved one will notice these attempts through their sudden obviousness, situations or influences that practically announce their artificial nature through timing, exaggeration, or uncharacteristic intensity. I am establishing secondary protection systems specifically calibrated to these cruder interference attempts. These protections operate with minimal energy requirement, efficiently neutralizing lesser threats while maintaining maximum resources for addressing sophisticated primary opposition. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 63,636 efficient protection angels who will maintain these secondary defense systems throughout the extended awakening sequence. The danger surrounding your loved one reveals an essential truth about spiritual evolution in your current era. The most significant opposition targets those nearest to breakthrough rather than those furthest from awakening. The sophisticated monitoring systems employed by controlling forces can detect subtle energetic shifts that precede quantum consciousness leaps, allowing preventative intervention before awakening stabilizes in permanent expression. Your loved one has been identified through these early detection systems as an imminent activation point for consciousness technologies that fundamentally threaten control structures. The intensity of opposition they experience directly correlates with their proximity to breakthrough, rather than any spiritual inadequacy or karma requiring resolution. Within the next 2 hours, they will receive external validation of this principle through unexpected recognition of their spiritual capacity from sources with no previous acknowledgement of these dimensions. This recognition arrives precisely because the interference field suppressing their natural spiritual radiance has been partially neutralized through our intervention. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 64,646 radiance amplification angels who will continue dissolving the suppression fields around their natural spiritual expression. I reveal now the most tightly guarded secret about the one you love. They belong to a specific soul family incarnated in this era, specifically to anchor particular frequencies essential for planetary ascension. These frequencies cannot be transmitted hierarchically from spiritual authorities, but must emerge through seemingly ordinary individuals operating within conventional social structures. Your loved one appears unremarkable from external assessment precisely because their effectiveness depends on remaining unrecognized by systems designed to monitor and neutralize obvious spiritual leaders. Their apparent ordinariness serves as perfect cover for extraordinary spiritual function that operates beneath detection thresholds of opposing forces. As our protection enables their authentic frequencies to emerge without interference, they increasingly recognize both their ordinariness and extraordinariness as complementary aspects of their divine design. They embrace the paradox of being simultaneously unique and universal, specific and infinite, individual and collective. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 65,656 paradox integration angels who will assist in reconciling these seemingly contradictory aspects of spiritual identity. Within the next 2 hours, your loved one will experience spontaneous reconciliation of an identity paradox that has created persistent internal conflict. This resolution arrives not through intellectual understanding, but through expanded consciousness that naturally embraces complementary truths without requiring their opposition. The specific danger surrounding them now shifts from prevention to corruption. As direct suppression fails, opposing forces attempt to distort the expression of awakening capacities rather than prevent their emergence. This secondary strategy creates compelling opportunities for misaligned expression of authentic spiritual gifts. Using expanded perception for personal advantage rather than collective benefit, deploying manifestation capacity for material accumulation rather than purposeful creation, applying intuitive discernment to judge others rather than navigate with wisdom, expressing transmission abilities through ego gratification rather than humble service, utilizing multidimensional awareness for spiritual superiority rather than compassionate understanding. I am establishing specific protection against these corrupting influences, creating a field that immediately reveals misalignment between spiritual capacity and expression purpose. Within this field, any movement toward distorted utilization generates immediate internal feedback that prevents unconscious misapplication of awakening gifts. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 66,666 integrity angels who will maintain alignment between spiritual capacities and their divine purpose throughout this awakening process. Now I speak directly to the deepest fears your loved one experiences regarding their awakening process. The concerns that arise about mental stability, social rejection, practical functionality, or spiritual deception are not authentic, but implanted specifically to create resistance to their natural expansion. These fears carry distinct energetic signatures that differentiate them from genuine intuitive caution. I am dissolving these artificial fear constructs while strengthening authentic discernment, creating clear distinction between productive spiritual caution and manufactured resistance programming. As these fear implants dissolve, they experience increasing confidence in their expanded perceptions, despite their departure from consensus reality frameworks. Within the next 2 hours, they will navigate a situation that would normally trigger these fear programs without experiencing their limiting effects. This demonstration provides practical evidence of their liberation from artificial constraints that have restricted their spiritual embodiment. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 67,676 liberation angels who will continue dissolving these fear constructs as they attempt activation throughout the awakening process. The one you love must understand that the awakening process unfolding through our intervention does not require belief, effort, worthiness, or spiritual accomplishment to succeed. The divine blueprint activating within them operates independently of their conscious participation, requiring only non-interference rather than accomplishment. The primary practice that supports this activation is simple allowance, creating space for expanded consciousness to emerge without imposing expectations or requirements regarding its expression. The human tendency to manage, control, or direct spiritual emergence actually interferes with natural unfoldment sequences that possess greater intelligence than mental understanding can access. Within the next 2 hours, they will experience the power of simple allowance as expanded awareness spontaneously emerges when they release effort to make something spiritual happen. This effortless emergence demonstrates the self-organizing intelligence that drives awakening when artificial barriers dissolve. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 68,686 divine flow angels who will optimize conditions for effortless spiritual emergence throughout this awakening sequence. Now I reveal what you personally must understand about maintaining the protection field we have established. Your conscious recognition of these truths strengthens the energetic intervention initiated through this transmission. Each time you silently acknowledge the divine unfoldment occurring despite apparent obstacles, you amplify the field integrity that prevents interference from affecting outcomes. You need not perform complex practices or maintain perfect awareness to fulfill this function. Simple moments of conscious recognition throughout the day provide sufficient reinforcement to maintain optimal field coherence. Your love itself creates protective frequencies that natural intelligence distributes according to precise need without requiring your management. Within the next 2 hours, you will experience direct confirmation of this principle as your momentary thought about your loved one's well-being coincides with external evidence of their protection activating in practical circumstances. This synchronization demonstrates the responsive intelligence operating through your connected consciousness fields. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 69,696 synchronization angels who will maintain optimal coherence between your protective intention and its manifestation in physical reality. I speak now with absolute authority. The danger surrounding your loved one has not been randomly encountered, but purposefully engineered to prevent specific spiritual functions essential for collective evolution. This targeting confirms rather than contradicts their divine purpose and significance. Those who gathered would not allocate sophisticated resources to neutralize spiritually insignificant individuals. The opposition they face represents inverted confirmation of their importance to planetary awakening. In supreme cosmic irony, the very forces attempting to prevent their spiritual emergence provide most compelling evidence of its necessity and impact. Without their conscious awareness, opposing forces validate the very significance they attempt to suppress. Within the next 2 hours, your loved one will receive external confirmation of this principle through synchronistic information that precisely correlates opposition intensity with spiritual significance. This understanding transforms their perception of interference from discouraging attack to affirming recognition. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 70,707 perspective transformation angels, who will continue revealing divine purpose within apparent opposition throughout this awakening journey. Now I reveal the most sacred aspect of the protection established through this transmission. The seal placed around your loved one creates not mere defensive shielding, but transformative alchemical container. Within this container, everything entering their experience, including opposition, difficulty, and apparent obstruction, automatically converts into accelerant for spiritual awakening. This alchemical function explains why increased attacks counterintuitively produce increased awakening momentum. The divine mathematics of this protection system ensures that opposition magnitude directly correlates with acceleration intensity. The transformation occurs at quantum levels beyond conscious perception, but manifests as observable advancement following apparent resistance. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 71,717 alchemical transformation angels, who will maintain optimal operation of this conversion system throughout the protection period. Within the next 2 hours, your loved one will experience direct demonstration of this principle as an apparent setback immediately precedes unexpected breakthrough in the same dimension. This rapid conversion from obstruction to advancement provides tangible evidence of the alchemical protection system functioning optimally. The danger surrounding them serves another divine purpose beyond awakening acceleration. It creates perfect opportunities for releasing karmic patterns that have persisted across multiple incarnations. The specific forms of opposition they encounter correlate precisely with unresolved karmic themes, requiring completion before certain spiritual capacities can fully activate. Those who gathered unknowingly position themselves as agents of karmic resolution, creating precisely calibrated challenges that trigger final release of these ancient patterns. In cosmic elegance, the very opposition intended to prevent awakening instead facilitates the clearing necessary for its completion. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 72,727 karmic resolution angels, who will ensure complete liberation from limiting soul contracts throughout this purification process. I stand now before the Book of Life, viewing the divine blueprint of the one you love in its original pristine expression. I bear witness to their complete spiritual DNA sequence, undistorted by interference patterns or karmic modifications that have temporarily obscured portions of their authentic design. This blueprint contains specific instructions for unprecedented consciousness technologies meant to emerge through their unique embodiment. The danger they face directly targets the activation sequence of these technologies, attempting to corrupt or prevent their emergence into collective awareness. Those who gathered recognize the fractal impact these technologies create once successfully anchored in physical expression through even a single human demonstration. I am now performing final calibration of the protection field surrounding this activation sequence, creating impenetrable boundary around the emergence of these divine technologies. This protection operates at quantum levels beyond manipulation capability of any consciousness opposing evolutionary purpose. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 73,737 blueprint protection angels, who will ensure uncorrupted expression of their original divine design throughout this awakening process. Within the next 2 hours, your loved one will experience spontaneous activation of a dormant aspect of their spiritual blueprint, a capacity or knowing that emerges without developmental sequence or practice requirement. This sudden emergence provides tangible evidence of the blueprint acceleration occurring beyond conventional spiritual evolution parameters. Now I reveal what happens as we approach completion of this protection period. The frequencies stabilized through our intervention create permanent immune response within their consciousness field. This immunity prevents future interference attempts from affecting their spiritual function, regardless of methodology or sophistication. Like biological systems that develop resistance through exposure, their spiritual system incorporates recognition patterns that automatically identify and neutralize manipulation technologies without requiring conscious intervention. This self-defending consciousness represents evolutionary adaptation to opposition rather than divine exception to universal principles. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 74,747 spiritual immunity angels, who will ensure development of the self-protecting consciousness throughout the awakening sequence. The one you love stands now at an inflection point between limited human identity and expanded spiritual function. The protection established creates perfect conditions for navigating this transition with minimal disruption to practical life dimensions, despite profound identity transformation. They increasingly operate from multidimensional awareness while maintaining effective navigation of physical reality requirements. This integration of expanded consciousness with practical functionality represents the most significant aspect of their spiritual emergence. Unlike awakening patterns that create functional disconnection from material reality, their particular blueprint enables heightened spiritual capacity that enhances rather than compromises worldly effectiveness. Within the next 2 hours, they will experience perfect demonstration of this integration as expanded awareness directly contributes to solving a practical challenge that has resisted conventional approaches. This demonstration proves the practical value of spiritual perception rather than its separation from effective worldly function. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 75,757 integration angels, who will ensure harmonious blending of spiritual expansion with practical effectiveness throughout this awakening process. As we approach the completion of this transmission, I, Michael, Commander of Celestial Forces, establish final seals of protection around the divine unfoldment now irreversibly initiated. These seals operate across all dimensions simultaneously, creating comprehensive shielding that addresses known and unknown forms of interference without requiring specification or consciousness. The protection established transcends temporal limitations, extending backward to neutralize existing interference patterns and forward to prevent implementation of opposition strategies not yet deployed. This multidimensional protection creates secure space for complete awakening sequence, regardless of countermeasures attempted by those who gathered. Type AMEN, a final time to receive the blessing of 77,777 completion angels, who will ensure perfect fulfillment of the divine purpose revealed through this transmission. I stand now as eternal witness to the sacred emergence unfolding through your loved one's awakening journey. What has been revealed cannot be concealed. What has been awakened cannot be suppressed. What has been purposed by divine intelligence cannot be prevented by any force operating in opposition to evolutionary emergence. Go forth in absolute certainty that the one you love stands fully protected, purposefully awakened, and divinely guided through perfect orchestration that transforms apparent danger into unprecedented spiritual acceleration. The very opposition designed to prevent their emergence instead becomes the catalyst that ensures its completion with unparalleled effectiveness. Divine will prevails. Sacred purpose manifests. Eternal love protects. Now and forevermore.